We should never take leadership for granted, because so go the leaders. There go those that are like us, that are watching their lead and following what they do. I appreciate them so much. I'm humbled to stand here where the diamonds and leaders have stood and shared, and those who are heroes. I want to share a few principles with you today. And how many have read my book, How to Be Purpose-Driven? I want to talk to you today about some principles, yes, that cause you to be purpose-driven. Yes, that cause you to have the resilient power of purpose. How many know you have to be resilient? You have to have the ability to bounce back. See, this is not going to happen. Your dream is not going to happen like falling off a log. How many of you already figured that one out? There's going to be some rejection involved. There's going to be some persecution involved. There's going to be some ridicule involved. People are going to call you crazy. In fact, you're going to look in the mirror several times throughout your quest to see your dream become a reality. And you're going to look at yourself and say, they are right, I am crazy. And at those times, you're going to have this quality called resiliency, that you can bounce back no matter what it looks like, smells like, feels like, or seems like on the outside. If we are going to be purpose-driven, have this resilient power of purpose, we're going to have to do what I want to touch as a main point here today, and that is we're going to have to be people that go beyond the point of no return. Let's all say together, I've gone beyond the point of no return. You see, as a ship crosses the ocean, at some point it crosses an invisible line that it no longer has enough fuel to turn around and go back to its origin. It must go on to the destination of its dream. As that plane lifted up, I believe that the last leg of the journey for me to get here was going through Minneapolis Airport. As that jet took off and lifted off the ground at Minneapolis to land here to the Sacramento Airport, I was reminded of this principle, as I am several times a week, and that is there is a point when that jet gets to a point in that runway where it's built up too much thrust and too much lift, and it has used up too much of the runway. It must take off and fly. It cannot abort the mission. Friend, when you or I get to that point in the pursuit of seeing a dream become a manifest reality, when you or I get and step over on that invisible line that we know it's there, we know exactly what it is. We know if we've stepped over it in this building or not in the pursuit of our dream, financial freedom and independence and every freedom in every area of our life. There is that line. Something happens when a person steps over that line. There is a charisma that begins to exude. It's a quality decision. And this charisma begins to exude from them, and this strength starts to come from the inside of them that you could not fake on the other side of that line. So I'll say one more time, I've gone beyond the point of no return. See, you can fake some things on this side of the line that are natural on this side of the line. There's a charisma that exudes from you when you've gone beyond the point of no return. There is no turning back. You will not take no for an answer. You dig your heels in and say, I will not be denied. This dream is not just an option. It is going to happen. Why? Because it has to happen. I am burning the bridges. I'm putting it all on this dream. I believe it already belongs to me. And there may be times I feel like I'm going to trip and fall on my face. But in those times, I'll put my hand around my wife, or I'll put my hand around my husband, and I'll say, honey, you know what? We're going after this dream. It feels like we're going to fall on our face, but let's at least make sure we fall forward, because then at least we'll be between 5 and 6 feet closer to our dream. Woo! Gone beyond the point of no return. See, that's a committed person. How many know commitment is real? Commitment is something that people want to be around you because it's so rare today. And when you step over that line, you're a person that exudes a certain kind of charisma that makes people feel better. They have hope being around you. How many know this world needs some hope? People are walking around, they got no hope. They're depressed. They're worried about the future. They feel restricted. They feel frustrated. And then they get around you and they say, man, this person's crazy. They got a dream. But you know what? They got to feel hope around them. When I'm with my parents, or when I'm with my relatives, or all that family, I feel like there is no hope. I'm stuck in a rut. I get around them and I feel like there's some possibilities for the future. I mean, it'd be nice if family members were always on our side in the pursuit of our dream, but that's not always the case. How many of you figure that one out? George Burns said happiness is having a large, close-knit, loving family. It lives in another city. Now, I don't know if that's always the case. Obviously, we don't prefer that to be the case, but many times they're the ones that are last to accept that you are going to be an absolute, tremendous, phenomenal success. And not only for yourself, but lead a lot of other people to success as well. You step over that line, charisma exudes from you, and all of a sudden people want to be around you, and then they hang around you long enough. They don't even believe in this opportunity. They don't even believe in what you're into. They don't even believe that the dream can be real for them to begin with. But they hang around you long enough, not because they believed in anything, because it just felt good to be with you. How many know what I'm talking about? And why it felt good to be with you is because you're a person that stepped over a line. You're not quitting. You're not going back. You've got hope. You got commitment. You got that sense like, man, there's something more in life to believe for. And they want to be around that, going beyond the point of no return. Principle number 2 is that we must be a person that lives every day with a strong sense of purpose. Cynthia mentioned it last night. Jim mentioned it today. Purpose is absolutely pivotal in our life. Let's all say together, I live every day with a strong sense of purpose. What's the power of a purpose? See, this is Reader's Digest years ago. 2 young boys playing on a frozen pond. 8 and 9 years old. The 9-year-old boy spun around just in time to see his 8-year-old friend fall through a thin spot in the ice. The piece of ice that broke came up and shut the hole like a trap door. On impulse, the 9-year-old boy ran over to a tree, grabbed a branch that was over 3.5 inches thick, ripped it off the tree, ran over to the spot in the ice, began to break the ice and broke the ice in a diameter of 8 feet. Some places it was inches thick. Finally found the parka hood of his friend and pulled him up to safety. The ambulance was there. They're putting blankets around the young boy, giving him hot chocolate, checking his vital signs. Finally, they found that he was pulled from those cold depths in time, that he was going to be all right. A buzz started throughout the crowd. People said, wait, hold on now. Look at this situation. This is absolutely impossible. Look at this branch over here, over 3.5 inches thick. Young boy, 9 years old, can't break a branch that thick. Look at this ice over here. It's inches thick in spots. 9-year-old boy can't break ice that thick. We see this, but we can't believe it's impossible. There must be some explanation. They passed all these theories back and forth across the crowd. Finally, none of it made enough sense, and a hush came over that crowd. And just then, an elderly gentleman with a police treat came from the back of the crowd with gray streaking through his hair. He said, I can tell you how this young 9-year-old boy broke this branch 9-year-old boys can't break. I can tell you how he broke this ice that's too thick for a 9-year-old boy to break. He did it because there was no one here to tell him he couldn't. What is the power of a purpose? See, he wasn't measuring a branch. He wasn't measuring ice. He wasn't saying, give me a micrometer, see if this is too thick for me to break. No, the love he had for his friend drove him to do something that normally would be impossible. How many know when you get big enough reasons to make your dream become a reality, points that you thought you could not go beyond, you will exceed those points like you can't even see them. You're going so fast. Point that marker, past that marker that used to be a preconceived limitation. When family reasons get big enough, when you get sick enough of being sick enough of being sick enough of being limited in the area of finances, which you can say what you want about money being important or not being important. But I love what Rita Davenport says. She says money may not be important, but it's right up there with oxygen. How many know what I'm talking about? And you're tired of being, but it's much more than the money for you. See, you realize there's financial freedom. You realize there's a lifestyle, but then you get involved in a purpose and a vision that is even larger than that. One more time, let's all say together, I live every day with a strong sense of purpose. Now here's the next one. We must practice every single day thought replacement. Now that's just a word that I say. It may not be new. It may be new. I have no idea. But another way to say it is we must practice thought replacement. And we also must practice thought exchange on a daily basis. So I'll say together, I practice thought replacement. I know you said that one on faith, and I appreciate it. What's thought replacement? See, wherever we find ourselves in life, if we are going to go to the next higher level, the thoughts that brought us to the level we are at now are not enough to get us to the level we're going to. And I don't know about you, but when I'm going to my next higher level in life, whatever your next higher level is in this business, which also represents another level of freedom for you, which also represents many other things, but whatever that next level for you is, and when I look at the next level in my life, this is the program I'm on. If you got another one, please come to my tape table and let me know about it, because I'd be happy to sign up for that program if we could find it. But the way it is for me, I'm going to the next higher level, and I'm believing, and I'm pushing, and it's the dream, and I'm filled with purpose to get there. It seems like every time I go for the next higher level, this is the one I'm on. And the other one is just far enough away that I got to let go of where I am to get to where I'm going. I mean, you can relate to what I'm saying here. Someone once said that sometimes you have to give up who you are in order to become the person that you want to become. Sometimes you have to give up where you are in order to go where you want to go. Thought replacement. See, in 1989, I had a headache for 29 days. 29 days with a headache. I went to doctors, got prescription painkillers, etc., extra strength. You name it. I tried every single drug available, and none of them would touch this headache. Finally, I realized it was not a headache in my physical head. That was not where it originated. That was just a symptom. The real heart headache, or the real ache, was in my heart. You see, I had compromised and leveled out and planed out and gotten into a comfort zone, and I had refused to move. It was cushy there. There wasn't the freedom that I knew I deserved. There was a lot more in life that I knew I should be enjoying, and a lot more people I knew that I should be helping. And the gifts that I've been given, I knew those talents and gifts should be extended a lot farther than I was actually living and being it at that moment. But see, it got comfortable. The bills were being paid. I wasn't making any waves. Didn't have to climb another mountain. I felt like, hey, this is all right. I deserve a break today. I've worked hard to get to where I am. I'm not, and excuses can work for the positive or the negative. We can stay in excuses. I had a friend who had an open heart surgery, 3 bypasses. And he said, you know what, Larry, till I actually healed up from the surgery and had no more pain left over from that surgery that was performed on me, until that pain was free and I was all healed up from the surgery, all of a sudden I was living pain-free for the first time in about 10 years. He said, at that time I realized, living pain-free, that I had been living with pain for years before the surgery. I had that angina pain, and it bothered me every day, but I called it indigestion. I called it many things. And he said, I excused, and I got so used to the pain that I didn't realize I was living in constant pain. Whew. You see, sometimes we need a wake-up call. For me, it was this headache. It was saying, Larry, you compromised what you committed to in the past. You said you'd always go to the next higher level. You say you'd always pursue your purpose with a passion. Why don't you practice what you're preaching? 1989. Finally, I had this headache for 29 days. I got so sick of the pain. And I finally realized what it was. Larry, you've settled. You've not maintained integrity with yourself or with God. And you need to move on and make a commitment to be who you said you were going to be, and be a man and stand up and take on another challenge. Don't live in this comfort zone. I talked to myself and I talked to God, and I said, listen, God, please, you present any opportunity that I know is real in front of me, I will be light on it. You want to see somebody grab a hold of something and run with it. Well, I went to Pittsburgh. I didn't know where help was coming from. I didn't know where direction was coming from. And I was at a friend of mine, Robin Cole, used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers in their Super Bowl days. I was at his house. We were visiting. Finally, I was leaving. He said, Larry, listen to this tape. Gave me this tape by a guy named Les Brown. And I left there. Now, today, most everybody here knows who Les Brown is, and many people around the world, certainly in the United States, know. Back then, just about nobody knew. He was just really new in the speaking business himself and working in certain niches. I listened to this tape on the way home, and I realized he was a great speaker, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest speaker I'd ever heard in my life. But it was far more than that. I knew there was a connection. Something about my next higher level had to do with this guy named Les Brown, and whoever he was or however good he could speak was immaterial. There was a connection that was there. How many know in this business, this. There are certain people that you belong with, and they belong with you. And what you're involved in is a sorting process that is absolutely doing nothing more than finding a few great people that you were meant to be with all along. I got a hold of this Les Brown after calling his office 10 to 15 times a day for 6 weeks every single day. His office thought his staff thought I was crazy. They started throwing my messages out. I never got a call back. Finally one night, 6:30 at night, he was got in off the plane, and I don't believe in any coincidences. That day, his office staff forgot to reroute the 4 phone lines that usually go to an answering service at 5 and left them open, and he thought somebody was calling the private line, and I was calling on the 800 number or whatever the general number was I had that I got a hold of. And as he picked up the hello, this is Les Brown, who's this? I said, this is Larry DeAngie. Larry, who are you? I was thinking, man, I got 400 messages, 600 messages maybe. This guy didn't even recognize my name. I said, Les, I know we're supposed to be working together. He said, Larry, I'm very flattered to hear you say that, but I get 20, 30 requests a week for people to work with me. And, I appreciate that, your intention, but I just can't do it. We talked for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, he said, Larry, I don't understand this. I have not done this. I can't remember when, but I know you're right. Can you get to Detroit tomorrow? I flew to Detroit. Long story short, in 2 weeks, we were doing workshops together. In 2 weeks, it was going so well in the work we were doing together that I just moved to Detroit. He said, Larry, I had a local in Erie, Pennsylvania before I moved. I was working locally. Part of my next higher level was to go national. And part of going national was I had to give up what I was doing locally because I wouldn't have time to do both. I had a half-hour weekly ABC affiliate television program every week in Erie. I had a 5-day-a-week radio program every single day, Monday through Friday. I had quit both of those. I had burned the bridges because once starting to work with Les, doing these seminars on a national level, I knew that's where I was supposed to. I burned the bridges, burned my income source. Now, you don't have to be as crazy as I was, and you're very fortunate that you don't have to be, because it takes an insane person to do that. So I had to do it. I did it. I couldn't do both. I moved there. He said, Larry, I know you've really paid a price to be here. Stepped out on faith. He said, you can just move into my house, live there for about a month. You can get an apartment, get your feet on the ground, get a couple good speaking engagements under your belt. So I said, fine. I moved into Les's house. 2 weeks after I was working, everything was moving. I figured, man, this is great. I'll just hold on to this guy's coattails. He's the big kahuna. We're going to the stars. It's going to be like, simple. 2 weeks later, I was in Greektown. Boo, his cousin Alexander, we call him Boo, went over there to eat. When we went over to eat, we went to the restaurant. It was full. We came back out. I went back to the parking spot where I'd parked my car, and it was empty. Reality struck. I said, well, we've been here 3 times this week. This must be where we parked last week or last time or the day before. No. He said, Larry, this is where your car is gone. That car was stolen. We walked back to the Penobscot building. And we went upstairs, and a staff member drove us home. Next day, we drove back to the office in Les's car. 8 o'clock in the morning, went upstairs, went in the office. Les said, I got a meeting with the bank. I'll be back 10 o'clock. Let's get together and discuss this seminar we're going to be doing in Cleveland on this weekend. I said, fine, great, we'll get together then. He left, went downstairs to the first floor of the Penobscot building to meet with the bank people. Came back up 10 o'clock sharp, went into his office, shut the door, sat down in his leather chair behind his desk, swiveled around with his concerned look on his face. I said, Les, what's up? What's going on? He said, well, I know we'll talk about the seminar in a minute, but I got to share something with you first. I said, fine, what is it? He said, well, I just found out that I'm going to have to fire some office staff, that they've been mismanaging my money. And one of the things that they have not been doing is they haven't been making a house payment. I said, oh, really? Yes. He said, in fact, it's so far gone. I've been out on the road. I should have been paying more attention. Obviously, it is so far behind that I've already lost the house. We have to be out immediately. I said, whoa. Sometimes you're pursuing your dream. It just seems to get better and better and better. I said, well, that's all right, Les. Whatever it takes, man. Buddy, we're together in this. I was still kind of numb from getting my car stolen the night before. You know, I was like, oh, I'm still in like the morning sort of grief thing hasn't worn off from the night before. I'm saying, oh, and it didn't really hit me until 2 o'clock that morning when I was in my office. Les was sleeping in his office, or I don't know if he was sleeping or not, but Alexander was back where we store the tapes. He was sleeping back there, and I looked out of the window of the 21st floor of the Penobscot building down at the air conditioning units as they roared in the building that was shorter next door and kept that building cool for all the people to leave their comfortable homes and their comfortable beds to come to work the next day. And as I looked at those and I listened to those air conditioning units, I thought to myself, Larry, you are crazy. Are you insane? Are you out of your mind? You left a half-hour program, an ABC affiliate, 5-day-a-week radio program. You left a local speaking rep. You burned all the bridges. Now you don't have enough money to put a roof over your head. Your car's stolen. You got to humble yourself and ask people for a ride when you got to get somewhere. Larry, are you out of your mind? And this is where I begin to understand what thought replacement was. When everything was telling me I was a failure. When everything was telling me that, yes, the dream could come true for somebody else. But man, I'll tell you what, forget it, Larry. Your name isn't on this one. You're just a crazy dreamer. Oh, sure, people can get up on that stage and have been successful. But I can't do it. When I got to the point where I looked out that window and I said, either I'm going to have to fall through the bottom. I can't even go back home because they already told me I was crazy for doing what I was doing. And I was standing there and I could either fall through the bottom or figure out something was going to work. And in that time, I figured out what thought replacement was. Thought replacement was the fact that I was feeling like a failure. The fact that circumstances were weighing so heavy on me and defeating me was as a result of the fact that I had not been working on my thoughts enough on a daily basis. You see, we are transformed by the renewing of our mind. As a man or a woman thinketh, so are they. I was sitting one time, and as I sat there, I began to get into a program, and I began to realize I had to do something in my life. I saw the principles that successful people were working, and in this sort of picture of myself, I saw them like balloons, helium balloons. On one was the law of use, another was the law of reciprocity, giving and receiving. Another one was a law of working hard. I mean, nothing replaces the law of working hard. There's no magic that's going to remove hard work from the picture. Another one is having a vision for the future, for without a vision, the people perish, but with a vision, the people prosper. I'm looking at all these laws, and the helium balloons are pulling on me, and I can feel them. I'm working them. How many of you have ever worked it and worked it and worked it and worked it, and it still doesn't seem to be working? How many of you be truthful and say, you know what I'm talking about? Well, I was working it, man. I was working everything. And I even felt those things. I was working it so hard. I felt them. They had the ability to pull me up. I'm thinking, why am I not going up to the next higher level? Then I looked down, and off to the side was a chain with a ball on it. And on it was written the word fear of failure. Fear of people. And then I saw another rope, and there was a cinder block on it. And said insecurity, feelings of unworthiness. Another one, I saw another rope over here. There was like an anchor that you'd throw over the side of a ship. And it said lack consciousness and not believing it belongs to me. And I realized it's not only working the principles, but cutting off the weights on a daily basis so you stay free from that so the principles can continue to work for me. See, psychologists and psychiatrists have told us that 87% of the average person's self-talk is negative on a daily basis. And we think between 40 and 50,000 thoughts a day. And thoughts are things. But it's not just the thoughts. I wish I could spend more time on that, but my time is already up. I'm going to have to come in for a quick landing, and it may seem like a weird place, but I never get done talking. I just quit when my time is up. So we're zooming down from 40 to 30,000 feet real quick here. So please put your oxygen mask on with me. 87% of the average person's self-talk is negative on a daily basis. We think between 40 and 50,000 thoughts a day. What that means, if this line up here is the highest and best that a person could experience, the highest level of their dream. If this line down here represents LNW, the lowest and worst that a person can experience, that means between the highest and best and the lowest and worst, most people are experiencing 13% of the potential dream for their life. Why? Because 80% of their thoughts are producing what they don't want in their life. They're only 13% 15% left that are producing what they do want. The vision of that third, they're receiving a vision, 87% of what they don't want. The balloons aren't pulling them up because they can't get rid of. I'm talking about thought replacement. I'm talking about a daily program to change our thoughts. Why is thought replacement so important? Because it's not just a thought. The collection of our thoughts creates our philosophy, and our philosophy about any area of life creates our reality, and our reality creates our life. The collection of our thoughts we receive from media, from parents, from religion, from education, many other areas that told us it's hard to make money. You're never supposed to have enough to make ends meet. How many know if you accept a collection of thoughts that is that thoughts from wherever we got it from, you know what, if that becomes our philosophy, guess what our reality is going to be? And then guess what's going to automatically show up in our life? The thoughts that created a philosophy and a reality in our life. See, all of us were created. Let's all draw a circle in the air, please. And then draw a dot in the middle. Thank you for playing with me here today. That circle represents the outer self, physical body, mind, will, and emotions. That is the vehicle. That is what we've been given to travel. I flew here in a plane, I'm not the plane. You may have driven here in a car, you're not the car. We're all inside looking out of these windows at each other. The real us, that dot represents the real you, the real me on the inside. None of us were born weak. None of us were born without vision. None of us flew off the assembly one day and they said, whoops, didn't mean to make those. They're not going to have any purpose. They're going to have to wander around their whole life with nothing really happening. No. We were all born the same. Dogs, when they have babies, they got what? Puppies. Rabbits, when they have babies, they have what? Little bunnies. Eagles, when they have babies, they have what? Little eaglets. When God the Creator has children, they got to be creators. You were born to create. People are not fulfilled when they're not creating. Why? Because we were born to create. I'm not done. Just got to quit. One more time. Let's all say together, I've gone beyond the point of no return. I've stepped over the line. There is no turning back. Oh, let me just give you one more principle in 30 seconds here. Let's all say together, I must hold the vision. There is a vision for your life. There is a dream for your life. You are not coming up with something new. You are simply fulfilling the vision for freedom and independence and giving and loving that you were put here to fulfill. You are creating a life of passion and purpose and dream and abundance, not just to have it, but the way it's supposed to come to you is because of the law of reciprocity, which states when you give, you shall receive. See, you will be blessed in proportion to your blessing other people. And part of you, because you meet these diamonds and these crowns and people that have become successful, there's one thing that's consistent. They've all reached their hand back to many people. Some that seemed like they deserved it and some that didn't. And they reach back and say, you know what, I'm going for my dream, but I'm grabbing a hold of your hand. And as I go forward, I'm going to take you with me. Talking about the law of reciprocity. There's a vision for you to bless and help and serve and love other people. And as they become blessed, you become more blessed. See, my mother could not have children. They tried for years and years and years, couldn't have children. Finally, they went to the doctor for the last time. He said, last 3 times I'll let you come back. They said, listen, I was just humoring you. I was just telling you, to come back just because I felt sorry for you. I got to tell you right now, we've done every test known to man. You two will never physically have children together. It's impossible. My mother still believed it would be true. Finally, they heard about this man named William Branham who was traveling around, a little humble guy from Kentucky that wore suspenders. They had to convince him to start getting on a stage and wear a suit when finally 100 and then 1,000 and 5,000 and 10,000 people were gathering in the 50s to hear this man, this little humble guy, could hardly read or write. But there was something that would happen. An angel would come to be with him. And he just walked in the woods and he loved God and he talked to God. I mean, whatever your persuasion is, that's really not the issue. This thing just happened and I am proof of it. He would get on this platform and he'd just walk back and forth and say, God loves you, you're supposed to be blessed. Just little simple stuff. I mean, the most profound things in the world are the simplest. And he'd walk in, and all of a sudden this angel would come to be with him. And all of a sudden he would know things about people and miracles would happen. My parents heard about this because one of my cousins had this boil acne type condition on his face. He had gone to one of these meetings in Cleveland where this guy was under a tent, and he left. He came back the next day and it was totally gone. I mean, they get your attention. They said, whoa, what's going on here? Doctors had said we can't have children. Maybe there's another verdict that hasn't come in. They got in the car. They started driving to Cleveland. They stopped halfway to a rest stop, got out, used the restroom, came back in to the car and discovered that somebody had stolen all the clothes and food out of their back seat. Let me know a few things can happen on the way to your dream. They got back in the car, said, no, we're going. We're going to be unstoppable. There's nothing that's going to stop us. They got in there. And as they got in there, they sat in the second to last row. And as they sat in the second last row, finally, this thing began to happen with this little humble guy. And he pointed to my mother along with, I asked my father, he's 80 years old, the other day to retell me the story. Every time I ask him, there are tears coming down his face. They sat in the second last row. He pointed at my mother and said, woman, stand up. Doctors have told you can't have children. Isn't that right? She said, yes, that's right. In fact, they told you, do we know each other? She said, no, we got here late. I never met you before. He said, all right, listen to this then. They told you you'll never have children. You might as well go ahead and adopt. She said, yes, that's their exact words. He said, well, then hear these words from the Lord. In 9 months, you will have a child. That's what happened 9 months later. My mother started having babies. They become a baby producing machine. 6 months after I was born, she took to a minister, said, we didn't believe this baby's supposed to be here. We just want to give him back to God. Trying to get rid of me already, I guess. I don't know. So he said this beautiful prayer, God bless his baby, use his baby. After he got done, he said amen. He looked at my parents and said, your son will grow up, have a message burning on his heart. He'll speak to crowds of tens of thousands of people. My mother locked in on that like a bulldog on a soup bone. She was like, oh yeah, that's my baby boy, you know. So I'm growing up the first 17 years of my life. I looked the opposite, smelled the opposite, acted the opposite, sounded the opposite of anybody that 10 people want to listen to. I come in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. The reason I remember that, you'll grow up, have a message burning on your heart, speak to crowds of tens of thousands of people. I know that so well, and word for word, is because my mother drilled that into me day after day after day. Sometimes she'd say it sweetly, honey, you're going to grow up, you're going to have a message burning on your heart, and you're going to speak to crowds of tens of thousands of people. Other times, she'd do it this way. She'd say, you're going to grow up, you're not going to come in 2 o'clock in the morning with alcohol in your breath. You're going to speak to crowds at 10. I'll tell you right now. Other times I come in and hear the familiar sound of my mother in that living room, soaking the cushions of that couch with her tears, praying the best way she could, saying, God, please help my son. Please save my son. He keeps on doing what he's doing. Whatever he's doing out there till the wee hours of the morning, he won't live till he's 20 if he doesn't quit. And day after week after week, no matter what I smell like, act like, how many of you know it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, you got to hold the vision. Doesn't matter what your checkbook says right now, you got to hold the vision. Doesn't matter what relatives are saying to you right now, you got to hold the vision. No matter what negative self-talk seems to be there, you got to practice thought exchange and hold the vision. Hold the vision, for if you hold it long enough, it won't tarry forever. It'll catch on fire. It'll ignite. It'll explode, and you'll see it manifested before. She held it and held it and held it and held it. And 30 days before my mother died, 30 days before she went to be with the Lord, I spoke for the very first time to a little group of young people, and she sat right in the front row. That vision for 10,000 people in one building still seemed ridiculous. Yeah, okay, I'm speaking, Mom was right, finally. But 10,000 people, forget that, man. Where's there going to be 10,000 people that want to listen to me? Forget it. Still has them weights hanging off, see? I'd encourage you to get this tape serious. I got a program in here from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed to keep the weights off your feet so the principles will work. I'm standing there and I'm saying there's no way. I'm looking and I'm remembering these words, but I just took off the tens of thousands because it didn't make enough sense. Then in 1994, something happened. See, back in 1990, I met a diamond, and the diamond invited me to speak. And I was still sleeping on the office floor up in that Penobscot building. But that diamond, after I worked thought replacement every single night, from night till morning, practicing changing my thoughts, even though my circumstances looked just the opposite, I changed my thoughts. I worked on my thoughts. I listened to tapes. I read books. I listened to music. I talked to positive people. I would pray. I would believe to make my thoughts be something different than what I was seeing with my natural eyes, so that would not be my vision, and that would not be what was coming more to me in life. And as I did that, I was able to get up off that office floor every day and make 60 to 70 to 100 calls a day. And finally, one of those calls was to a diamond that I've been referred to. And I talked to that diamond. He said, you can come and speak to our group, 2,000 people. What are you going to talk on, Larry? I'm going to talk on Absolutely Unstoppable. Great, Larry. Come and speak on Absolutely Unstoppable. I went and spoke to that group in Reston, Virginia. Got up off the office floor, got on a plane ticket that they bought for me, thank God. And I flew to Reston, Virginia. And I went into that auditorium and I spoke, and Charlie Tremendous Jones was another speaker on the program. I'm like, oh my God, he's another one of my heroes. I'm way out of my league here. Got up on that platform and pulled way down, up from down, deep inside from the experience I was living from on that office floor, the principles I was practicing, the thought exchange that I was involved in, all that I was doing to hold the vision that didn't seem like it was coming to pass in my life. I poured it out to those people, and then I left, and they loved me, and they stood up, and they clapped and shouted. I said, oh man, I don't know who these people are, but I love them. And I left and went back to my tape table, thought I'll go sign a couple tapes in case of one or two people. There's 150 people standing there waiting for me. I said, whoa, I really love these people. I got on a plane, went back home, went back sleeping on the office floor, got a fax over the fax machine that said, Larry, we like to use your tape as a tape of the week, this organization. I said, well, fine. So I just signed it and sent it back. I thought I sent it out to 100 people maybe. Next day, I got a call to finalize the plans for this tape of the week thing, of this tape Absolutely Unstoppable, this group. They said, oh, Larry, by the way, we distributed it to 150,000 people. I said, what? So I started speaking over and over and over since 1989 to audiences just like yourself of independent business owners. And one of those just happened to be in 1994, and I returned from a trip. I sat behind my desk, got in at 2 o'clock in the morning off the plane, too much coffee and all excited and couldn't sleep, and I'm working, and all of a sudden I begin to shake. I realized something. Those words went through my mind. Larry, you will grow up, you will have a message burning on your heart, and you will speak to crowds. I said, whoa. For the first time, I just spoke to a crowd of 16,000 people in the Greensboro Coliseum. Whatever the dream looks like to you, it may seem so far out there that, you just look in the mirror and say, you know what? You're an idiot. You're a total, absolute, crazy, lunatic, insane, nutso, wacko. This can't happen for you. You don't got what it takes. You don't have the connections. You don't have to stick to it. You've always been plagued with procrastination. And as you look in that mirror, you need to say these words to yourself. Let's all say together, I've gone beyond the point of no return. I practice thought replacement every day. Because as I think, so am I. I am transformed by the renewing of my mind. I hold the vision. I hold the vision. I hold the vision. When it looks good, I hold the vision. Come on. When it looks bad, I hold the vision. When they talk nice about me, I hold the vision. When they're against me, I hold the vision. Why? Because my dream is real. That is my reality. I was born for freedom. I was born to live my dream. I will not be denied. Get out of the way or get run over. You got a bunch of unstoppable people on your hands, world. Get out of the way or get run over. My dream altogether, my dream will become a manifested reality. If I don't quit, I'm going to get there. God bless you. I love you. Thank you very much.